Aloha. I'm Representative Cynthia Thielen. I represent Kailua, Kaneohe Bay Drive area. And with me today is Jay Fidell. I'm delighted to be with you again on this show. And Jay is the CEO of Think Tech and a wonderful, knowledgeable person about energy issues. Today we're going to talk about energy, Jay, because I recently was one of the keynote speakers at Energy Storage North America. So anyone that wants to Google that, if you go ESNA, you'll be put into their website and can learn something about that. They had a national event that actually drew from the international community in San Jose, and that was recently. I was one of 3 keynote speakers on a panel with PUC, the Public Utilities Commission.
Our State Public Utilities
Commission, Lorraine Akiba, and then with Colton Ching from Hawaiian Electric. And our moderator was Leslie Cole Brooks, and she's the executive director for the photovoltaic industry. So we were all there presenting Hawaii's clean energy initiative and the challenges. So to me, it was incredibly exciting to see that energy storage is not kind of a research and development stage, but energy storage across the world is playing a very major role. It's a commercial, mature industry, including the battery storage. And we met with some of those people, but primarily in the presentation, we said, Hawaii needs you. Hawaii and the residents need energy storage because, number one, Hawaiian Electric could and should be stepping forward with that to even out the grid when the renewable energy comes pouring in from the companies and the people putting in photovoltaic. And second, residents need it. So one of the most exciting things to me, Jay, was that you could get an energy storage device that is probably the size of a very small broom closet to put in a mop, broom, and a bucket, and that's about the size of the energy storage device. It will store energy and it will keep it for a period of time where the weather is poor, we have rain or whatever, and you're not getting the photovoltaic that you need during that period of time, and you can be totally off grid. So it's not new. One of the countries that really is the primary leader is Germany, and when you think of Germany, they don't have the sun like we have. So anyway, our panel was very exciting. I think people really enjoyed hearing the diverse positions and, of course, the tension between Hawaiian Electric and the legislature, because the legislature really wants to move off of fossil fuel much quicker, and the legislature is not at all happy that 4,500 are in the queue, the wait line, to be able to hook up their photovoltaic. So there we go. I mean, that was an exciting time, and if you could weigh in on some energy storage issues, the battery storage or the broader energy storage.
I'm glad you asked me that. First of all, I think Hawaiian Electric is trying to do its best in a difficult time. We're in a transformational period here. We're changing the world, and we're ahead of most other places. And we have all the issues on the table. The problem is how we manage this, okay? And ideally, you make a good PUC and you have the PUC manage it. And I think when Mina Morita, your colleague, was here, that's really what she was shooting for, having the PUC empowered, to do the regulation. I don't think it's worked that way because the legislature has kept one hand on this the whole time. And you have had these raw meat hearings over and over again, beaten up on the utility. And I don't actually, my advice is not to do that. let it happen at the regulatory level, instead of allowing a platform for everybody who's discouraged and disappointed and unhappy to come down and vent themselves on
Jay, this is going to be fun because we're going to be about as different positions as Hawaiian Electric and I were at this convention.
The problem is that collaboration is the way to do this, not animosity, and I think that's where it's gone the last couple of years, largely because the installers are disappointed. They were making a lot of money before. They were doubling their income. Forget about the number of installations. They were becoming multimillionaires in a very short period of time, and they acquired new assets for the companies. They were planning, hopefully to double their companies every year. That didn't work. It's not likely anyway. It's not a sustainable model. And when it didn't happen, they got very upset. And where do you think they went? To the legislature.
Of course, of course. Well,
and there's no relief possible at that level. The relief, as you correctly state, is in storage.
yes.
And there is at least one company out there right now here today who is a member of Leslie Colebrook's Hawaii Solar Energy Association that has the exact product you described. I don't know if you know that.
No, I would love to hear the name.
You can buy that right now today. It's Joe Saturnia EM Power.
Okay.
Okay, and it's about
Now,
the size you described.
Say it again.
Joe Saturnia is the owner.
Okay.
He has an installation at his home, Saturnia.
Oh, all right.
He's a solar installer.
So not Tesla, but
No, not Tesla. I mean,
well,
this
they
is-
spoke, by the way.
Is that right?
Yeah.
They're going
one
into
of
this
the
market, yeah.
One of the head people at Tesla spoke at the convention, was really the opening speaker, and it was very exciting.
sure it
and
was.
brought the car for people to be able to have a test
Yeah,
drive
yeah.
in San Jose. So I didn't have a chance to do that, but I have driven a Tesla at one point, and they're quite a piece of machinery.
Expensive.
Well, true, but that's coming down. That's coming down.
Watch hydrogen, Cynthia. Hydrogen is sort of the advanced electric.
Possibly.
And I suspect they're all going to go to hydrogen soon enough.
Possibly, but what I think the thing that makes me the most troubled, and I can certainly understand consumers coming to us in good faith, they were going ahead with photovoltaic. I mean, our utility rates are the highest in the nation, and that's painful because families, they don't have the disposable income.
Why do you think that is?
I think because it's fossil fuel based, and I think it's because Hawaiian Electric has clung to an outdated corporate plan. And I look at Hawaiian Electric as driving the Model T, not the Tesla.
Well,
and
that
I
could
look
change,
at them.
don't you think there are people within
It
the
could,
company
but it's
who want
not.
to see that happen?
But I know.
And the solution actually seems pretty easy. But I think all the legal process gets in the way. If they want to do something, they go through the IRP process. It takes years.
True.
And no effect at all.
But
and
Jay,
now they're involved in this 2,700-page, kind of a tennis game with the PUC.
Oh.
And when is that going to get approved? If at all, maybe it won't be approved. Where are we then? Where is the plan then? To me, you've
Jay,
got to.
if you owned that corporation, it is a shareholder-owned corporation. We let it be a monopoly. And so it's beholden to shareholders, and then it is supposed to provide power to the residents and the businesses on Oahu. If you owned it with your technical knowledge and your technical background and all of the think power up there that you have, which is massive, you would not sit with a corporate plan.
You know what I would do?
Let me finish. That relies upon these wooden poles across the island, which I mean,
That's another
you
issue,
get a
Cynthia.
hurricane and goodbye, and relies upon those and doesn't integrate the community into its power base.
But you know what the solution is? You said it.
The
what
power,
solution.
it's batteries,
Storage.
storage and photovoltaic.
that has got to come. Well, storage and also grid upgrade.
Right.
You have to put in those smart machines to equal the load and make sure that everybody is giving and getting in the right percentage and the right amount. And so
May I wave my
question
magic
is-
wand and appoint you the head of Hawaiian Electric? Because we aren't
they just got a president.
we aren't getting people with that kind of mentality running the show.
Watch. Alan Oshima, I don't know if you know him.
I don't know him.
He's a lawyer. He's a utility
Well,
lawyer.
that's I'm a lawyer. Is that
Well, he's
something
kind
that's
of
good?
He's a very modest kind of lawyer. He's not a hard, litigator type of lawyer.
All
He's
right.
a business lawyer. And he just, just on October 1st last week.
Yes.
He took his first day. We interviewed him on Think Tech. He's along these lines. You should look at that one, and you'll see he's kind of enlightened about it, and he's trying to affect the changes that will within the company that will make this happen. And it's just as you say, storage and also grid update using technology. If we can do that, these 4,500 people won't be so unhappy anymore.
Okay, all right. Now let me stop you there. You know the federal tax credit is running out.
Yes.
And the more Hawaiian Electric delays, the more that clock ticks around to the end of 2016. So without that federal tax credit, photovoltaic, as it's presently priced, becomes really too big a stretch for people.
Why do you say it's all Hawaiian Electric's delay? I don't agree with that. Hawaiian Electric is in a regulatory structure which always distracts the creation of
Hawaiian Electric could have gone after storage earlier. I mean, they could have been out there saying, hey, Germany's got this throughout the nation.
Well, I think they wanted
Can we
to
take
do
a
that.
look? And no, they
What
weren't.
happens is, you get into these IRP meetings, and there are 80 people involved. Get to these legislative raw meat hearings, and there are hundreds of people involved.
We aren't doing anything to prevent them from getting storage.
They got to get approval from the PUC.
For the cost to be passed on
That's
the
the question.
consumer.
We're talking about probably hundreds of millions, which is not that much in the world of utility, generation or renewable sources, but it's a lot of money, and exactly, who pays? Who pays?
Well, and there's also the problem, and I know you'll recognize this, that if the technology becomes more available, easily available, where you've got the photovoltaic and your battery storage, and the storage will actually keep your power for you long enough for what?
Overnight.
More than that, because we could have rainy days for a couple of days.
As we have had.
Yeah. So if you have that and that becomes more affordable, people are just going to say goodbye utility and then go off the grid. So that happens, and then what happens to the utility is it loses its prime customer base.
This is an issue that exists elsewhere too.
Yeah.
It's not just here.
And
So-
they're talking about, I think, the death spiral of utilities because of that.
But the
I wanted
you know what the utilities say, though? You must have heard this at the conference. If we can work together on this, we can find an arrangement where storage will be available, where the utility will play a role, perhaps as a storage and grid facility, perhaps as a transmission company, not necessarily a generation company over time. So we need to collaborate. We need to work together.
Jay, they don't say that.
Wait.
They don't say that. They do. I've been in the legislature now for 24 years, serving on the Energy and Environmental Protection Committee, and I'm vice chair at this point. All I've heard them do through the years is to delay and use safety and cost, and not even cost as much, just safety. But all I've heard them do is delay, delay, delay. If you were the head of Hawaiian Electric, I could believe in your integrity and your vision and say, okay, but we have not heard that from them.
Wait. I mean, it won't be a long wait. The new CEO is there, and he knows this conversation. He knows the kinds of arguments you're raising. He knows how I feel, and he's got his own plan going forward after years of utility law and utility. He's been involved for several years already. He knows all these issues from the top down. And I think he's the kind of guy, sort of in the John Burns model, who can make people follow him in a very sort of elegant, low-key way. That's Hawaii leadership. Yeah.
Okay. So then, as we are supposed to wait and let that happen, the federal tax credit clock is ticking, and that's what concerns me for the 4,500 and the other thousands of people.
Don't you agree with me, though, that wait is a better wait than waiting on a combination of views from hundreds of people all weighing in at these hearings, all having public platforms, and the PUC waiting a long time before it actually approves anything. I think that it happens at the leadership level, and it happens at HECO, and maybe now it will happen.
Well,
so don't lose hope on this, Cynthia.
As I say, 24 years and watching them, and sometimes I can remember one of their top executives said, we don't have a problem with depending upon oil. There's not going to be a shortage, and there's no difficulty in using that as our base. And those of us on the committee that cared about the environment and cared about the cost for the consumers were appalled. But that was the attitude. He now has retired and no longer is with the company and gone, but I will try
you have to
have
understand
a
that
good.
the company was built over 100 years.
Oh, I know.
On the generation model.
But Jay, then it's
and
going
these
to.
guys, their most important product is delivering the lights.
I know.
And
but
their worst nightmare is that the lights won't go on in the morning.
But if they don't change, they're not going to be a viable company. Let me just talk to you about one thing that I just got off the internet, which Daily Costs, I believe it was, and they're talking about Clean Technia, which is the author's Giles Parkinson, and he's talking about a report from the Global Investment Bank, HSBC, and it predicts that conventional energy generators will be the biggest losers from the upcoming energy storage boom. Now, that's Hawaiian Electric. Unless they get on board with energy storage, they're going to be the biggest losers. And by biggest loser, what that does is it hurts shareholders. And in fact, the financial institutions are now looking at fossil-based utilities and realizing that this is really not a good bet, because it is going to go out of business unless they change.
Well, they have to become a transmission company.
Yes.
And for my view, they have to become a storage company.
Yes.
And they have to have the smartest grid around. And that's where it has to go. And it has to go there soon.
Okay.
I think we agree on
Now,
that.
what we
the
do-
question is how to get there
Yes.
and who pays for it.
Well, and all right, and then I think part of the frustration at the legislature is that we go out and talk to constituents, or they get a hold of us, and it's painful for a number of them.
Painful, but they all have a kind of conflict. They're all consumers, users. They can't afford the electric bill. They have this kind of diffuse anger, and it's all wound up by the fact that they got these spreadsheets from the installers that tell them they're going to do really, really well and recoup their investment in almost no time at all, and that doesn't come true, so everybody's mad at everybody. So I don't think the way to solve this is to making everybody mad at everybody, because it's going to lock up. I think it is locked up. You want to know?
Jay,
I think it is locked up.
Jay, you know, how long have we been waiting for them to change? Germany has been a leader in this with the storage.
We haven't been waiting that long.
Well, it's certainly been
we've been waiting for green energy for a long time. I agree.
Yes.
Been waiting for solar. We want solar. We want wind also. We want geothermal.
We've been, well, let's take a look at last September, a year ago September, when Hawaiian Electric came out with its letter saying, tough, you can't hook up. And then, by the way, I did get a commitment out of one of the executives at the last hearing to say, if a family goes ahead and puts in photovoltaic and they don't export to the grid, can they be hook up without undue delay? He said yes, they could hook up
mean if
within
they go off
3
the grid?
weeks. 3 weeks. No, not off the grid. On the grid, but you don't export your energy to the
Isn't
grid.
that a solution? Because the
I think it's
vagary
a
here,
full.
the
I think
reason
it's
why the utility company is reluctant to hook up unnumbered numbers of people, is because they're afraid it's going to bring the grid down, going to fry something.
Yes,
Okay,
but
and
yes,
they
but,
don't know exactly where the point is,
that's
but
the
nobody else
export.
does either.
No, but that's the export. So what they
So what
committed.
you do is don't export.
Don't export
Isn't
until.
that simple? It's not going to save you or make you a lot of money.
You'll be saving money by not having to draw the power in.
Right.
Right.
Because you get it off your roof.
Right.
So, I mean, my view has been, God, it's good that we're talking about this. My view for a long time, storage is the key to everything.
Yes.
And, of course, smart grid also. But storage is the key to everything. And what you do is you don't take net, and they're going to change net energy metering anyway. It's going out. You don't sell back to the utility. It's just too complicated right now. Just take from the utility when you need it. Okay,
I would
as
feel
a
better
backup.
if they had been working on storage a year ago instead of that
They
letter.
were working on
Well,
storage.
not aggressively.
It's in the IRP plan.
but-
so you're talking about a question of degree.
A year? Do you want to see what the utility bills are for families in 1 year and what that does to their spendable? It's
We
rough.
know.
It's
but
rough.
You're mixing oil oil and water here. If you
I don't want the oil.
Because you know the
water,
utility
you know
bills
my
are mostly
feeling on
about
that.
oil, right? It's not about photovoltaic. And photovoltaic isn't going to solve the oil problem, or rather the high price problem, because why? You have to buy that stuff. You have to buy all that equipment. It isn't cheap. And I don't think it's getting that much cheaper either.
Oh, I think the prices are dropping down, but
They've
part of
dropped.
that's
They've dropped, and they're now at a plateau.
Yeah.
So the other thing is that there are other sources too. It can't be all photovoltaic.
Hey, you're talking about wave energy.
I could be, and I could be talking about geothermal
and
too.
you know that the Marine base, the wave energy device gets deployed this month. The one that's in the nearshore berth.
How long have you been waiting for that?
Oh, quite a while, but it's here. It's here. And then the U.S. Either Department of Energy or the Navy has given $10 million more to the project for the 2 deep water berths. So they're moving ahead, getting those in place, and then companies can compete to be able to test their devices there.
Are you including OTEC in this discussion
No.
of wave energy?
No, no, no.
What, do you feel the same way about it?
No, I don't know much about OTEC. It's no.
They say OTEC is very promising, you know,
Well,
but nothing has happened.
but yeah, wave energy's here. It's going to be providing some power into the grid this October on the base, and it's exciting.
Will you
because
come on my show and talk about it?
I would love to.
I want that.
I would love to. But okay, now we've moved. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not all photovoltaic, but the battery storage works with all of these different renewables, and it's an excellent solution.
What about geothermal? Huge possibility. Huge possibility. In my view, it could generate well over 100 megabytes, maybe more than that.
Well, isn't Parker Ranch including that in its renewable energy portfolio?
I don't think the Puna
Paniolo.
facility. I don't think the Puna facility is in the Parker Ranch.
No,
they have
but-
the microgrid they're doing. It's very interesting.
It's
I
a
hope
wonderful
you study
idea.
that.
Yeah.
And the microgrid is, at the one hand, it's a valuable piece of technology going forward. On the other hand, it raises the same issue that you were talking about, where the family cuts off from the utility. What does the utility do now? It has all these wires, all this infrastructure.
Well,
what does it do with that?
Except that Paniolo Power has said that they would buy, rent, or make some agreement with the utility
hope
to
that
use
happens.
those.
I hope that
Yeah.
happens.
Have you ever brought Dutch Kuiper onto your show?
I have tried, and I still will.
Oh, do. He's fascinating. I
He's
went
a visionary man. I mean,
He is.
Think about it. On the other hand, what he's doing is so unique, because how many Parker ranches do we have?
True.
How many landowners do we have that could set up a microgrid? But once he sets up a microgrid, it'll be a model
Absolutely,
for
it
other
will.
similar landowners and maybe even smaller groups. Who knows? Lanai, maybe Molokai. Who
Well,
knows what?
and talk about Larry Ellison and Lanai. That's going to go off grid.
Yeah,
That
well,
will.
Well, I mean, it's kind of off grid now. I mean, it's its own.
Yeah.
It's its own grid.
But I
always
mean,
was.
it will be from the renewable resources.
Yeah.
I think he's made that commitment, and it's
Yeah.
an excellent idea. And storage will play a role.
Always
it
has
has
to.
to.
You
It
know,
has
I've
to.
always said, and you can go back in my shows for years, and I always say the same thing. If you invent a reasonable priced storage, you'll make Bill Gates look like a piker.
Well, it's there, and it's invented, and go Google it in Germany.
Well, Joe Saturnia, I mentioned, he has these storage units, the ones you were describing. You can buy them today, this afternoon. But it will cost you, for the storage unit alone, $15,000 and starting. So if you just spent about 30, 35, 40,000 doing your house, I don't know what it costs these days, you're going to have to spend another 15,000.
you have to amortize it over the 20 years, and you'll be paying half of what you're paying now. I did some figures on that.
I don't know if the amortization for the storage is the same. Batteries get old. They require
Well,
more maintenance than the
The
rest of it.
one company that I saw at the convention, at the Energy Storage North America convention, they have a 20-year warranty on their battery. So, and it's called Cube, and it's about the size of a cube. It's marvelous. It just wouldn't take up
But you
that
remember
much
what
space.
happened with the Extreme company. Extreme was the one who did the batteries on the North Shore.
Oh, all right.
First wind, and it burned up, and
Yeah, and
big problem.
they talked about that, and there was a reason for that, and that dealt with the inverters. And I'm not a scientist, so I can't go into that, but they can solve that.
I
That's
hope
not
so.
a
'Cause
that's
I don't
not
think
a problem.
Extreme is around anymore.
No.
And the people who were involved, like the fire department out there, they didn't want to go and put it out because they said the smoke was noxious. Battery
Well, yeah.
smoke is noxious.
Yeah.
So there are risks with batteries, and you know.
Well, there are risks in importing foreign oil.
Oh, sure.
And those risks are just
Agreed.
horrendous.
But I'm thinking, you know, there's some guy out there, maybe at MIT right now as we speak, who's inventing a little capacitor this big, okay? And you line them all up, you get a battery that's better than any battery that's on the market today. That'll be disruptive, and that'll make him look better than Bill Gates.
And it might be Tesla.
Might be.
It just
because
might
they
be.
recognize the market.
Oh, they do. Oh, they do. A fascinating discussion.
Got to follow it.
Yeah.
We have to keep on following it. It's the biggest thing in our time.
Well, we agree with maybe 70% of the things, but I still am a big doubter that utility is going to change. We let them be a monopoly. That was set up 100 years ago, and they have not been forward thinking. I mean, there's something when you create a monopoly, you also create.
They didn't have to be forward thinking when gas was $30
No,
a
but
gallon.
it's
30
not
cents
been
a
that
gallon.
for a long time.
Yeah.
So they needed to be forward thinking, and I just haven't seen any vision coming out of them.
Well,
So-
remember, the initiative is only, what is it now? Just not to lose sight of this. It happened as a matter of law in 2008. And what is that? That's 6 years ago?
Well,
It's been a rough ride since, I'll say.
I still look at it that there are a lot of people out there that are hurting and not able to really keep up with all of the costs, and one of the most punitive is the utility bill. So rather than
all-
going to just candles and maybe a hand fan when it's too hot, we need a utility that is a forward thinker. And
Well, I don't
Jay
see what happened
Fidell,
is
we have 20 seconds left, and I'm hoping.
Okay, well, I got to tell you a story from Lanai. I asked a young woman there whether she liked, photovoltaic best, and she said she did. I said, what are you going to do after the lights go out? And she said, we're going to go to sleep early.
I like that. Anyway, let's hope that we can move ahead to a clean energy future, and one where it does not cost our people so much to have to turn on the lights. Aloha.